What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 24 of the Hoop Venue podcast. My name is Tyler, and as always, I'm joined by my great friend, Sean. Sean, we've got a special day today. Your favorite topic, the Los Angeles Lakers, coming off two pretty big wins, a notable one against the Celtics where they thoroughly outplayed them on both ends of the floor. Probably their best game of the season. Last night, or yesterday, whatever you want to call it, Jared Vanderbilt returned to the lineup. Pretty big addition. Things are looking good, man. Dorian Finney-Smith was that his first start yesterday, I think?
Yeah,
I believe
only because of injured Rui Hachimura.
And we'll probably talk about that a little bit more. But Sean, how are you feeling about this recent stretch from the Lakers? What do you like? What do you don't like? How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling good. This is a perfect time for them to try to ramp things up. I feel even better because Anthony Davis has that Shams video drop where he kind of does the interview with Shams, and for the first time in his Lakers tenure, pretty outwardly criticizes the front office. I think everybody knows that AD's wanted to be the four for a while now, but AD to outwardly say, "Oh yeah, no, I've been telling them that for 4 years," out in public about it for the first time. Put a lot of pressure on them, and I loved it. But my initial reaction was, okay, cool. I'm very happy that you're doing this, AD. But let you guys have a stinker against Boston, or you have a flat performance where the effort isn't there, throughout the duration of the game, and then we're gonna have a problem because you can't say that and then immediately your actions show otherwise. It's just not how that works. And the last 8 quarters are the most complete 8 quarters of basketball the Lakers have played all season. And I think that's a great place to start. Getting Vando back is obviously huge. But AD calling out the front office, I do think they'll do something at the February 6th deadline now. Great 8 quarters of basketball. That's their best defensive game plan, too, against Boston they've had all year. And I put a tweet out because I think I got Laker fans kind of irritated at this. But my biggest takeaway from that Celtics game, and we weren't planning on talking Boston necessarily, but my biggest takeaway from that game was more Boston related. And it was like, dog, the Lakers basically said, we're just going to switch everything. We're going to let Max guard Kristaps at the nail and let Kristaps shoot tough, push shots or whatever. And Kristaps one of the best post players of the past 5 years or so. But the Lakers out-mapped Boston, and they kind of just beat Boston at what Boston wants to do. So imagine the Lakers defensive scheme or game plan or whatever, but times 10 with OKC's healthy personnel in a finals matchup. And that kind of made me even more I'm taking OKC if they're able to get through the Denvers and the Dallases of the world, obviously, but I'd probably take OKC in 6 against Boston.
I saw the tweet you're talking about. You mentioned OKC. You were I'm thinking about what the Lakers exactly just did exactly, but imagining the Thunder defense, and it's kind of terrifying. Yeah, bringing it back to the Lakers, I'm kind of on the fence about where to go with them in terms of evaluating, because I'm sure you saw what I was talking about maybe a week ago with the Lakers, and it was look, I think the problem isn't just what's around LeBron and AD. I think as an 82-game duo, they really scare me. And it's anything can happen in a 16-win playoff run, 4 rounds. There are very few guys I trust more than LeBron and AD in that setting. But over the course of 82 games, the inconsistent motor, just things of that nature, the age. It's really just the age and then the wear and tear on their bodies. I'm very on the fence about where to go with them in terms of ceiling. I think it's a really good thing that right now they're able to overperform their net rating, but I'm a little bit worried about that coming back to earth. Kind of what we talked about with the Suns earlier this season, where it was they were 9-1 with a near neutral net rating, and then all of a sudden regression to the mean happens and you're not scraping by a bunch of games again. That's what I'm a little bit worried about with the Lakers, but they've put themselves in a really good position. They're comfortably 5th in the West right now, I believe. And it's if you can hold a legitimate playoff spot, you're basically going into the playoffs with LeBron and AD just taking another step up to top 10 territory. Because AD's probably been a top 10 player in the regular season. I don't think LeBron has. But in terms of in the playoffs, there probably aren't 10 guys I trust over either of them. So it's now you're just you're just upgrading your team. Some of the statistical signals were really scaring me. Like, for example, LeBron and AD on the floor together. Yeah, like LeBron and AD on the floor together. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but like a few games ago, it was negative 2.7 net rating.
And
it's
those
like,
three together is like -3, I thought.
yeah, Austin Reeves, LeBron, and AD together was -3. And that's kind of scary because it's like, I get that there's other factors that go into the lineup data, but you look at any like duo of all-stars, regardless of who's around them, the net rating reflects that there's two high-level players on the floor. The example I kept going back to was Russ and Beal. Who was on that 2021 Wizards team? Rui. Rui was on that team. Their centers were Gafford and Robin Lopez, and Russ and Beal on the floor together were like a +1 net rating. And it's like, why can't LeBron and AD do that? And I think it comes back to some of the inconsistencies, the motor thing, like I talked about. Also, though, I've been diving a little bit more into the data since then, and I found something really interesting. In 332 minutes together of LeBron, Reeves, and AD without Max Christie, -3.1 net rating.
Max propaganda.
-3.1 net rating. LeBron, AD, Reeves, and Christie together, so the 4 pairing, +6. +6, and that's excluding garbage time. +6 net rating.
Add DFS to that group.
Yeah, and so let's add DFS. Let's make it a 5-man lineup. Add Dorian Finney-Smith. Once my very, very questionable Wi-Fi loads, only 29 minutes. So it's like nothing. +34 net rating. So it's like... And I think the bigger problem, actually, and I want to ask you about this. Okay, so let me just say, that number's not sustainable at all. 76% from 2 and 52% from 3. So it's like obvious fluke there. But that's clearly their best 5-man lineup. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, that's what kind of scares me, because it's like, will JJ lean into that lineup? And I guess we could take this into a Rui conversation, because it's like, the one time they finally get to play an extended stretch together is when Rui's out.
Yeah.
And it's like, their defense immediately looks like tiers better. Tiers better.
So last night is like another example. Like, I thought Braun was relative. I think Braun actually has been these past 2 games like relatively locked in defensively for regular season expectations. So locked in Braun defensively now makes Austin your, in air quotes, weakest defender, and that's like that's almost comparable to like Warrior Steph, where Steph's your worst defender. All right, we're fine, and not to that level, because I think Steph at his prime is still a better defender than Reeves. But Reeves is your Reeves is your worst defender. You feel really, really good about that. Like, I think Reeves is a perfectly average defender. I think he tries. I think that's like the best thing he has going for him. But even the lineup, like, I think you might have put this out on Twitter, like, their lineup versatility now with Vando back is insane, because dog, they rolled out a lineup, and we didn't see it for too much longer because Gabe got hurt. Not hurt. He got in foul trouble. Gabe's actually been playing pretty well recently. But they went a lineup, and I hate that they went zone with this group. I would have just loved to have seen them play them straight up. But it was Gabe, Max, Vando, DFS, AD. I'm like, dog, who's the worst defender there? Is it Gabe?
Yeah, and you know what? When I made that tweet about lineup versatility, I'm pretty sure they had that exact same lineup on the floor, except it was LeBron instead of AD.
Yeah.
So it was the front court of Vando, DFS, and LeBron, and they started Vando on the center, I believe.
Yep.
And then switched everything, and the Warriors were bottled up. It was like they couldn't create a single advantage, and that's when I tweeted. I was like, with Vando there, they have some serious lineup versatility. Also, can we talk about the Lakers finally using Vando as a short roll playmaker instead of a corner guy? Like, bro, I've been talking about this since he was on the Timberwolves. Maybe even the Jazz. I don't remember what team it was. I think it was the Timberwolves. I was talking about Vando. I was like, dude, Vando's a really good passer. And it was like, the Timberwolves kind of used it because they could lean into Cat as like their spacer and then use Vando as their screener. But the Lakers didn't use it at all. He was just a corner baseline, like, dunker spot. Why is Vando in the dunker spot? He can't finish. It's like, he can't shoot in the corner. What's he doing? So yeah, I love Vando as a short roll playmaker. I love him as like a small ball five, and then you switch everything. That's a really nice chess piece to have heading into the playoffs against certain
And he's
offenses.
such a good rebounder too. Like
Yes.
him and Braun in a playoff
Offensive, too.
setting. Yeah. Him and Braun as your like defensive rebounders, and then like Max is a good rebounder for his position. Austin crashes pretty well. So like that, like those groupings could work. When it's Rui as your small ball five, then we have some issues.
I'm also glad you talked about Vincent recently because I've been really impressed with the way he plays. Like he's kind of getting back to that like Miami really nice role player where it's like I'm gonna come in off the bench, I'm gonna defend at the point of attack, I'm gonna chase guys around screens, I'm gonna cause some havoc, I'm gonna set up the offense, make some plays, I'm gonna space the floor. Also, he creates some crazy space with that step back. Like you see what
He had like a couple of middies off the ball. So
yeah,
like,
dude.
okay, Gabe.
Yeah, so I mean, the way I look at the Lakers right now, I'm still kind of out on the Rui thing. I think best course of action, you trade him. I don't think they're going to, but I want them to. I think heading into the playoffs, like you got Vincent, Reeves, Christie, LeBron, DFS, AD, Vando. That's seven. That's seven guys. That's seven guys I feel good about. Vando, I'm a little bit iffy on depending on the matchup. Like I don't see him playing in an OKC series very much. But
Really?
like against the, it's just it's the way they clog space. I just don't see Vando really. And then especially if they go double big, you have Chet roaming off Vando. That just kind of terrifies me.
Sure.
And it's like
My
ahead.
argument is who guards Shea, because I don't think it's DFS. I think Vando's your best Shea
I feel like
defender.
it's Christie. I feel like it's Christie.
That terrifies me.
I feel like it's Christie, and you kind of switch. I think OKC's type of team, you switch everything. So I think AD would probably end up spending a lot of time on him.
Okay,
Because I think you can switch smaller players onto iHeart. He doesn't really punish mismatches.
fair.
Same with Chet. I mean, Chet kind of was earlier this year, but he's still not the type of guy where it's like, oh, I got to switch. Let me see. He's not Porzingis.
Yeah.
If you can switch guys onto Porzingis, you can switch guys onto Chet and iHeart. That's kind of how I feel. So I think AD would end up, maybe you even start AD on Shea. Get a little freaky.
That's what they did with Jalen. Like the
Isn't
way
it?
they started off with the Boston match, I was like, oh, that's weird because I think it was 80 on Jalen, Max on JT at the start, and then I think Braun on Kristaps, or maybe it was Ruby on Kristaps, and then like Braun on Drew or somebody weird, and then Austin on Derek. So I mean, yeah, you could definitely get freaky like that.
Yeah, and yeah, I want to shout out Christie. I think Christie's an awesome point of attack defender.
Max propaganda.
I also think like, a lot of people were confused as to why the Lakers went with Christie over Vincent on Steph. Like, am I crazy for thinking Christie's the team's best chaser? Like, I understand Vincent really thrives in that role, but Christie, I think it's the way Christie's length allows him to stay attached. Also, with
His
Christie,
recovery speed is also like
yes,
that's his arguably best trait as a defender is his recovery speed. Like I still think what's funny is I still think he has some technique stuff to clean up on. Like I haven't noticed it as much recently, but I did a film breakdown earlier in the season on Max. He did this super annoying thing where he would like take, if he's navigating a screen, especially like an all-ball screen, he would take this extra step outward to try to like get around it and actively put himself out of position. But he has like an elite recovery speed to where it almost didn't matter. But
yeah,
like against guys like Steph, a little more craftier guards, then it could get him into some trouble. I thought he did a great job against Steph in general, though.
and so another thing with Christie that I think stands out is really quick 2-foot leaper, which is kind of big when you're chasing guys because like it's like they're looking to get the three off right off the screen. The ability to just get off the floor and contest is really impressive. You know who I think Christie's closest defensive comp is after watching him a bit more?
Who?
Keon Ellis. Like he plays exactly like Keon Ellis, except Keon Ellis is like more of a playmaker, like more of a like quicker hands, things like that. Like in terms of just physical tools, they have very similar frames, similar athletic strengths and
Same
weaknesses.
draft class.
Are they?
I think.
I'm not familiar, but that's also Keon Ellis is probably the best Steph defender in the league.
Yeah.
So it's like if Christie can simulate just a little bit of that. By the way, not to go off topic, but dude, Keon Ellis against Curry in that Kings Warriors game was ridiculous. Ridiculous, bro. Like crazy plays. But yeah, like I think Christie, I feel good. I think the Lakers, I still want to see them get a backup big. But the thing is, like with the Vando lineup stuff, I'm really not too worried about a backup big. Like I don't even think that's priority number one. I honestly think like just loading up with more depth two-way guys could be a solid move. Like if you could flip Rui into two rotation players, just like at any position, I feel pretty good. And I think actually where my line of thinking is going like going back to like the 82 game thing. I almost feel like the best course for LA going into the rest of the season with like potential deadline moves in mind is stocking up on guys that will just get you through the regular season as a top 5 or 6 seed. And then it's like in the playoffs, you have your 7 already. It's like you have your starting lineup, and then you have Vincent and Vando that I feel good about. Like I said, I'd like to see a backup big. I don't know who that guy is. Like Walker Kessler would be ideal, but I don't think that's really a move that's going to happen, especially with the way the Jazz have been playing, which we talked about. But like, yeah, I think the best course is like find those guys that can just get you through 82 as a winning team, and then LeBron and AD step up a level, and now all of a sudden you are just like an overqualified 5 seed.
Yeah. You do whatever it takes. I don't know if it happens, but there's 10 days left. They have not paid the man yet, and it's due to tax reasons more than likely. Because if they do pay him, and you look at their cap sheet for next season, they're going to be a secretariat per team. And for this team, I don't think that's something you'd be willing to do. You do everything it takes to go get Miles Turner.
Miles Turner. Yeah. Miles Turner's a hoot. And you know what's funny? I actually don't think Miles Turner's a very good defender anymore. But with the way the Lakers have looked, like with Christie as a point of attack chaser guy, with AD as a switch drop defender, I think they could basically just make Turner a free safety. Because I think Turner's big weakness is he can't defend the pick and roll. He just can't. He just can't defend the pick and roll. So if you could find a way to make it so where he doesn't have to defend the pick and roll, like even in those bench lineups, I can envision them using Turner like the Celtics used Rob Will, where it was like we're gonna pre-switch everything, and then especially, dude. Like, I'm thinking of a bench lineup where you have Vincent, DFS, and Vando on the floor, and then say, like, Reeves or LeBron as the offensive centerpiece, and then Turner, and then it's like, okay, we're going to switch everything, keep Turner on the baseline. And it's like, that works. Like, that really works.
And now you have the personnel to do what JJ wants to do anyway. Like, JJ wants to switch as much as possible. Okay, cool. Now you actually have personnel to do that.
And Turner's an awesome offensive player, dude. Like, such a good offensive player. Not just in terms of, like, the pick and pop, the spacing. He can attack closeouts. He's got a mid-range game. Really soft touch. Also, sneaky good mismatch post-up guy. I think that's an underrated part of his game. He's not like, I'm going to take you to the block and pound inside and, like, body you. It's, I'm going to seal off position 10 feet out. Quick scoring move over the top. He's like a diet Porzingis on offense. And so, yeah, that's... but then again, I feel like the Pacers really value him. Because, like, his chemistry with Halliburton and things of that nature. So it's tough. Like, what are some other targets that you have in mind? Like, if Turner's off the table, what are some other upgrades you can make at any position?
I don't think they get Walker Kessler. I mean, I'd have to, like, really, like, watch his film. I haven't watched him a ton this season, but, like, there's been some Laker people, like, asking me about my thoughts on Ayo Dosunmu. And I haven't watched enough this season to have a real opinion on it, but based on what I watched like last season, the like little bit I've saw and like what the data said this year, I'm like, okay, that intrigues me a little bit. I'm honestly at the point where like it comes to Laker trade targets, I don't even like know anymore. I just think they'll make a move and I will react when it happens.
I think that's totally fair. Like, how would you feel about Claxton, for example?
Yeah, I'm game. I think this
the only thing that worries me is I don't know if you could play Claxton and AD together.
Especially like in a playoff setting in the clutch. Yeah, that worries me.
Yeah. I mean, Noah Clowney's another guy from the Nets. I'm just looking at some potential names, and it's like I don't really see anyone that stands out, and that's kind of what scares me because I do like this current Lakers roster, but I still don't think like right now they're slated to play Denver round 1. Like, what's your confidence level in that series if it happens?
I mean, slightly more confident than in years past, like because of coaching, I guess. And I just think this is the best roster they've had. And this is not revisionist history, but like DFS helps them out a lot. So like, I mean, it's still not that high. I'd still take Denver in that series.
Yeah. Okay. I've got two names for you.
All right.
Just like spark notes, how you would feel about them as a target. Lonzo Ball.
I'm game.
Like, dude, Lonzo's looked good.
I'm
Lonzo's
game.
looked really good. I love Lonzo. He's such a good player, and I think he would fit right into what the Lakers want to do. I also think his ability to push pace would really elevate the Lakers, like young guys, and because they have a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
And then of course the defensive versatility.
I think Lonzo makes sense if you're trying to get off of Gabe. Although like there's an argument that could be out that you could keep them both still together.
Yeah, well, I mean Lonzo's 6'6", and he's a really good athlete, so I feel like he can kind of play. He can really play the three if you need him to.
He's turned into a good shooter.
Really good shooter.
Yeah.
Really.
I'm game. I mean, it's pretty easy to get to his salary too. It's basically just Rui and like Jalen Hood-Schifino, which, I mean, cool beans, dude.
Yeah.
The only thing about like trading Rui is that this is kind of my stance. I don't think they do it unless it's for a guy that they view as a clear upgrade over Rui, which I think is asinine thinking. But that's how much they value Rui. Yeah, I just don't think they trade him unless it's for.
Well, my problem with that is I feel like their value of Rui is a lot different than our value of Rui. Like if I'm thinking clear upgrade over Rui, I'm thinking like Haywood Highsmith is a clear upgrade over Rui. I just.
Sam Merrill.
I just don't view Rui as a playoff player. That's really all it is. And it kind of sucks to say because he was awesome against the Grizzlies in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I just don't view him as a deep run playoff player. It's just very like over an 82 game season, he's a pretty decent role player. I don't mind him at all. But in terms of like we need to have lineup flexibility, we need to do these things defensively. I just don't view him as a playoff player. And also, another thing I kind of picked up on is the way the Lakers use Jackson Hayes, right? Like, I feel like Jackson Hayes is a pretty sneaky good connector, and like the way they use him on offense is pretty interesting. Like, he's always quick to do the dribble handoffs. He's a good extra passer.
Yeah.
But if you could just get an upgraded version of that, I would feel really good. So another guy I've been looking at is Kelly Olynyk. I think like Kelly Olynyk as a backup five spacer and connector who can also play off of AD and kind of weak defender, but decently switchable. Like Kelly's not going to protect the rim, but he can like switch pretty decently. He's like going to hold his own, get rebounds. But like one of the better passing and shooting fives in the league, I think would like just take their offense to another level. How would you feel about Kelly O?
Wait, I'm not tripping. Raptors still, right? I'm not tripping. I don't know why that.
He's a Raptor.
Yeah.
He's a Raptor.
I wouldn't mind Kelly necessarily. Not sure what you do to get there. What's funny is my comp for Kyle Filipowski was Kelly Olynyk. Like not great rim protector, but he has some switchability stuff. Could obviously shoot the three, be a DHO initiator. Kelly could actually do some stuff for a guy like Don Connect. I'm not gonna lie, offensively.
Yeah,
like that would be interesting.
I'm just really high on Kelly. Like I just think he's such an underrated offensive big. Like I'm looking back, 2021 for the Rockets, Kelly Olynyk averaged 19 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 39% from 3 on 5 attempts a game. What was his true shooting? 67%. Come on, bro. No, I just love Kelly Olynyk. I think he's such a good big, and I think he's the type of guy that could really just elevate a team's offense. Because when you get to like these, like, dude, think about how much he would stretch out Denver.
Yeah,
or
Miles Turner.
Miles Turner. Yeah, I feel like okay. So my argument for Kelly Olynyk would be like, that's the Aldi Miles Turner.
Yeah.
Although he's obviously a much better passer and like a much worse rim protector. It's like Miles Turner, but you swap the rim protection and passing. Is pretty much how I feel about Kelly Olynyk. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like I said, I'm still not sold on the Lakers because some of the lineup stuff is a little bit alarming with like in terms of like Lakers aren't that good with LeBron and AD on the court together. But just in terms of like get to the playoffs as a 5 or a 6 seed, you have a very solid rotation. And also I think the Lakers have been getting to a game plan a lot more recently. It's like they're really, I don't know if it's like they're locking in or whatever it is, but like they went from very unorganized offense and defense to all of a sudden flipping a switch. And I think that's one of the most important things a team can have is just the ability to flip a switch. Because it brings me back to Denver 2023. At the end of the regular season, they were dirt. They were dirt, and everyone said that they were frauds. And then game one of the playoffs against Minnesota, they were just like, oh my, yeah, they flipped the switch, and it was like a completely transformed team across the board. Aaron Gordon all of a sudden is the best defensive player I've ever seen. Jokic is all of a sudden like a hedge god, and it's like, yeah, this team is ridiculous. But
thank you for listening to the Los Angeles Lakers Network podcast.
The Los Angeles Lakers Network podcast. But yeah, man, last thing, I just kind of want to ask your like temperature check, how you're feeling about the Lakers right now. Like, are you feeling better or worse than you did a month ago? Are you feeling like, do you have championship hopes for this Lakers team? Like, where's your head at?
So the best way is kind of become a running joke. I've had like Jovan Buha on the pod, like specifically for my power ranking series in the preseason. And the way I described the Lakers coming into the year, I had them 11th in the league, obviously, coming into the year. And the way I described them was they have like a 1.6% chance of winning a title, right? Heading into the year. I was like, Bron and AD, you get some things to go your way. You get an Austin breakout, which I think has happened. I think Austin has taken a noticeable leap as a creator and a creator for his teammates as well. Like, Austin's the second guy on the team that can create space and cause the defense to collapse, which is super important for them. I would say it's like a 2.5% chance to win a title as of right now. If we're like comparing it to what I thought in the preseason, I think they still need a lot to break their way. But this is kind of my final point. This is the perfect way to, and how I feel about this team currently, how I feel about them heading into the deadline. I put a tweet out about like a hypothetical Walker Kessler trade. It was like, look, Walker Kessler is absolutely a needle mover. Let's not even discuss that, right? Or pretend to have that like conversation. But it doesn't make them a tier 1 contender. Somebody on my comment, like, I wouldn't have them on the same level as a Boston or OKC or like a Cleveland even. And then somebody in my mentions goes, well, if somebody told you that Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington made Dallas a tier 1 contenders, you would laugh at them and looked at them like they were crazy. I'm like, yeah, I would, but that's kind of the point. Like, that it gave them a puncher's chance, which is all you need, I feel, when you have a guy of the caliber of a Luke or a caliber of LeBron and AD in a playoff setting. So I don't think it matters if the deal makes them a tier 1 contender or not. I think I would come here and say it wouldn't. But I would also come here and also say, yeah, okay, now they have a shot. It's a 5% chance now instead of a 1.6 or 0% chance or whatever. So, that's kind of where I'm at.
I've got 2 more questions for you regarding the Lakers. Regarding the Lakers. My first one is, who's the worst player that you think, it doesn't have to be realistic, who is the worst player the Lakers could add to the roster and it would make them a tier 1 contender? Because you said you view Walker Kessler as a needle mover, but not the number, like, doesn't make him a tier 1. So who moves the needle that much?
Are we like being realistic in a sense? I have to account for who's going out too, like salary wise.
Sure, why not?
I don't think there is one then that makes them a clear cut tier 1 on the same level as OKC, Boston, Cleveland. But I don't think you have to accomplish that in 1 move or 2 moves. I think that's what everybody's going to be looking for from like a national media standpoint. It's like, oh, where's the move that makes the Lakers on the same level as Boston? I don't think they need that. I think they need a move to substantially make, like, that's a needle mover that makes them substantially better than what their floor is currently. But yeah, because my answer would have been like Zach LaVine. I think Zach LaVine, if we just like ignored everything, would make this team a tier 1 contender. Like if you just swapped out Ruby, Gabe, that's the problem with LaVine though. Like you need a lot of salary to get there. But yeah, I'm game for LaVine.
I got a name in mind that I think would. It's totally negative % chance of happening, like below 0, because he's on a contender himself, and they're not going to get rid of him. He's too valuable.
Steph?
No, imagine. Did you just say Steph's on a contender?
Yeah, that's the red flag on my part. You said contender.
Only making 20 mil. So you could pretty much just Rui swap. Jared Allen, bro.
He's so goddamn
Like,
good.
imagine AD and Jared Allen, dude, like playing the Mobley Allen dynamic. And then you have 48 minutes of all-star level big play, all-star level drop coverage, and switchability. Yeah, dude, Jared Allen, that's crazy. Like, I just want to say, like, bro, him making 20 mil is absurd. That's an insane
That's like
contract.
off the extension too, isn't it?
Yeah, he's locked up till 2029.
Yeah,
That's absurd.
that's absurd.
That's absurd. My last question for you with the Lakers, after some Jared Allen love. If the playoffs started right now, do you feel their offense or defense translates better?
I feel like their defense translates better.
like that's a good-
Pretty comfortably, actually.
And that's good. That's a good thing to have because, like, it depends on what switch LeBron has. But if you trust the defense more, and then LeBron is just like, hey, I can be a 30-point per game guy in the playoffs.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that's a terrifying team.
Because I think about it this way. First off, now trying to topic of Braun, and I'm glad you did that because I've talked about it a little bit recently. Braun just turned, and you had the post about him going from a GOAT level slasher to like elite mid post assassin. He's such a good mid range shooter now.
Yeah.
Like he's having. I gotta find it really quickly. But last time I saw, this was easily his best season from the mid range since like 2014 Braun.
Yeah.
Like it's not even close. He had been pretty consistently hovering around like 36, 37%. It was to a point like post foot injury in 23. Every time LeBron took a mid range jumper, it was a pretty audible groan on my part. And now it's like, oh, money. I was at a playback with a Celtics fan actually, or a Celtics content creator for that game. And I kind of like brought up the point like 3 straight times. And then every time Braun took a mid-range jumper, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's money. Oh, okay, cash or whatever. But to the point about the defense, Max, DFS, Gabe, playoff Braun, Vando, and then AD half-court playoff God defensively. Like, I trust that over 40-year-old offensive Braun in the playoffs. And Braun's still, but like 40-year-old Braun still. Initiator Austin kind of still worries me with no other like real guard pressure. That's why I would argue still that I would love for them to get another guard creator like Colin Sexton. I'm gonna keep throwing that name out there. So like there's a very realistic world. And I'm not wishing this obviously, but like Austin could really struggle this playoff run where it's the first time he is the sole creator from the backcourt. There is no D'Lo, and Braun, I mean, isn't. I think Braun's gonna, have his moments, obviously, but like it's Austin bringing the ball up.
A lot of LeBron's touches at this point are like post ups and stuff. It's not like
post ups. It's pick it pops, it's spot up stuff, off ball stuff, and maybe that's just a regular season where I think their job is to just make Braun's offensive burden as limited as possible, and then the playoffs will get back to the heavy isolation, heavy spread pick and roll stuff. But just based off the data we have right now, it's like Braun's kind of the third man, if you will.
I will say I'm a little bit worried about the Braun AD spread pick and roll in the playoffs against most defenses. I think them running into Denver in back-to-back years kind of made it look a lot better than it is at this point because Jokic and drop and whatever. It's like if you run into Minnesota, I do not like the LeBron and AD spread pick and roll as like your primary form of offense. And then you run into a team like OKC. I think Austin Reeves is just in hell against OKC.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But like there's a potential, and I guess we could segue into the Grizzlies because I think you've specifically talked about how you really like the Grizzlies as a matchup. I think that's a team where LeBron and AD spread pick and roll works. I think that's a series where Austin Reeves can dribble very comfortably because the Grizzlies don't really have those pesty, besides Scottie Pippen Jr., but he's not a starter. Grizzlies I want to talk about because they've won 6 straight games, 8 of their last 10. They are really, really good, and they're probably the most unique team in basketball right now with the way they not only structure their lineups, but just schematically approach the game. They're like the fastest team ever. They're faster than the 7 seconds or less Suns. They score like 40 points a game in transition while no other team's over 30. They're such a unique team, and yet I'm a little bit worried, and it's just so I'm on the fence about the Grizzlies too because I don't know which way to lean. Because on one hand, it's like I kind of want to go with the cliche and say game slows down in the playoffs. Their half court offense scares me, right? Like I don't trust it. I think at this point their best half court scoring option is a Jaren Jackson Jr. post up. And I don't know how. I think against certain teams, like look at the Lakers. If you put AD on Jaren Jackson Jr., a Jaren Jackson Jr. post up all of a sudden probably isn't that valuable. But like at the same time, a Jaren Jackson Jr. post up against a lot of defenses is just a walking mismatch. Like against OKC, who the heck are you putting on Jaren Jackson Jr. to where he's not just abusing them? Is it Hartenstein? Then who's guarding Zach Edey? And it's like, and did you see there was a play recently where the Grizzlies had a double post up in the same possession? They posted it up to Jaren Jackson Jr. on the left block. He skipped it to the right corner while Zach Edey established position on the right block. Right corner guy enters it to Zach Edey and he posts up and scores. And it was a double post up. I don't think I've seen that ever. It was the weirdest setup, but it was cool. It was awesome.
I have to go back to it.
And so my question for you is, with the Lakers and Grizzlies, specifically with the matchup, I think you've talked about why you believe the Lakers are a bad matchup for the Grizzlies. Does it scare you that the Grizzlies are like the fastest team ever and the Lakers don't play transition defense?
That part would scare me for sure. Part of me also just believes, though, maybe it's like the 2 wins so far blinding me in that scenario. But part of me just wants to like, I don't care. And I think in a playoff setting, it would just be like, kind of to your point, like teams are going to make Memphis play in the half court. I think what makes Memphis such a interesting case study, and my plan is to like do a breakdown on their offense because they like literally don't run ball screens
At all.
Like I would have to go back, but definitely I feel like over the past 3 years, so like over the past 3 years, Golden State, Sacramento, Denver are typically your teams that run the least amount of like pick and roll possessions a game. And it's normally for those 3 teams around like 25 to 28. That have been per 25 28 pick and roll possessions, including pass outs per game, right? Golden State this year is at 31, which is 27.5% of their possessions. Okay. Dallas is at 30 this season.
That's so weird.
That's all. Yeah, that's really weird.
Some of it is the Luka injury, but I also remember the Mavs were using Luka a lot differently at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. And then Denver there's a big gap between Denver at 29 and Dallas at 28. Denver's at 25. But Memphis is dead last in the league at 20.3. 20.3 ball screen possessions a game, which on one hand it's unique, and this goes against the stupid point that continues to get made. Everybody in the league plays the same style of basketball. No, they don't. Go watch Denver, go watch Memphis, and go watch Boston, and then go watch healthy Luka and the Mavs, and or better yet, go watch the Hawks, and you will find 4 completely different styles of basketball being played all at the same time. What's interesting about that is by basically saying, look, we are never going to run spread pick and roll. Like, okay, cool, but what does that make? What does Ja do in the half court now? And if anything, and he has not graded out well this season from a like pick and roll efficiency. As a matter of fact, like 0.804 points per possession on pick and roll ball handler possessions, 0.848 isolation scoring possessions efficiency. But you go back to his last fully healthy season and like 0.927 points per possession on ball screens, a noticeable jump. Ja Morant, he had a 1,295 pick and roll possessions in 2023, regular season and playoffs. But that generated like 1.026 points per possession during that season.
And I think Memphis had like a bottom 5 half court offense that season.
That season? Okay. But
yeah.
I'm just saying, I do think it's interesting. Jeez. I don't know. It's interesting to notice that Jaren Jackson's obviously having a breakout season, but like, what does this mean for Ja in a playoff setting? I guess that's kind of the question I'm asking you.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Memphis's biggest downfall, as the roster currently stands, is the fact that they do not have that half court like go-to action that can just generate hyper efficiency. We've talked about this before, and it was like, I really like Jaren Jackson Jr. post-ups. I don't really like anything Ja does in the half court right now, like besides the passing. The passing's awesome, but in terms of like scoring, like isolation, I'm going to get by my man and score, or pick and roll, I'm going to come off a screen, manipulate the big, get you a bucket. I genuinely think Ja's regressed quite a bit as a scorer over the past few years, and it's because what he had in 2022, he kind of just has the exact same game. He hasn't added a mid-range jumper. He hasn't improved his floater at all. He hasn't improved the three ball. The only thing that's really improved since then is the free throw shooting. He's improved his free throw shooting, but with that, less vertical finishing, probably a little less athleticism. So I would just say he's an overall worse scorer at this point than he was in 2022, and even then, very flawed half-court scorer. So what does that mean for Ja Morant in the playoffs against a team with rim protection like AD? Same thing as 2023, right? Like, it's just like the half-court offense kind of falls apart. And I guess this is kind of where I'm headed. I will say Desmond Bane's looked really good recently. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. He's getting back to normal, getting back to like the efficient 20 balls. I'm kind of ready to say at this point, and I still want to wait to see how it looks in the playoffs. I'm kind of ready to say that Jaren Jackson Jr. is their best player. Just outright.
Yeah.
He's their best player at this point. And I guess that's kind of worries me because I'm pretty high on Jaren. I think he's an awesome player. But if Jaren Jackson Jr. is your best half-court offensive player, or half-court scorer, I'll say, if Jaren Jackson Jr. is your best half-court scorer, what does your playoff offense realistically look like if a team is able to take away the pace? Bad. It's just bad. And it's like, there are certain defenses that I think can really exploit that, like really get back in transition. For example, Denver really excels at getting back in transition, and it's mostly because of the way they set up the floor with Jokic as the top of the key guy. Jokic is always the first guy back in transition. And it's like, now you have a 7-footer stopping transition plays, even if he's not a great rim protector. And
He's still 7 foot.
He's still 7 foot, exactly. He's still got a 7'4" wingspan or whatever. OKC, same thing. Chet's up top. Chet's the first guy back. You are not scoring on Chet in transition. So yeah, I think it's tough, man. I think it's tough. This is why I've been advocating for the and he's not available, so it's not even like a Memphis fault thing, but like why I'm so adamant, like if Kevin Durant becomes available, Memphis, you have to get rid of like 6 of your assets and get that guy. Because Kevin Durant literally makes Memphis a tier 1 contender. And I guess it kind of sucks. I don't really like the Jimmy fit, but I do think he'd make them better, and it kind of sucks that Jimmy's basically saying, hey, I'm available for all 28 teams except for Memphis. It's like, why?
Which is still so weird to me.
Why? And yeah, I'm a little bit worried. I really like the Grizzlies. I think they've got something going for them. I think they're the deepest team in the league. I think push comes to shove in the playoffs. You don't have a Luka pick and roll. You don't have a Jokic post up. You don't even have a LeBron and AD pick and roll. You don't have a Shea isolation. What do you have a Jaren Jackson Jr. post up? It just doesn't move me. It's like the goal is to win a championship, man. I think Memphis is very clearly an elite regular season team. If they win 57 games, wouldn't be shocked at all. We talked about this multiple times. Like, they are a walking 50-win team with Ja Morant healthy. And it's just, yeah, man, I feel like Memphis is the team that really has to make that half-court move. Like, I think look out for Memphis as the Zach LaVine destination.
That would cook so hard.
Like, that
especially
would
for their system, actually, low-key, I would really, really enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have some Ja Morant B-ball index up for you. So we're looking at his last 3 fully healthy seasons. We're evaluating his LeBron metric, which B-ball index is basically that's their impact metric. So views like compared to EPM and whatever. Offensive LeBron, same thing, just how valuable you are offensively. Paint shot creation, contact finish rates, your ability to just finish through contact at the rim, drive assist per pass, finishing talent, pick and roll creation rate, playmaking talent overall, and then potential assists per 100 passes. This is Ja's worst overall impact season over his last 3 fully healthy seasons. This is his worst offensive impact season over the past 3 fully healthy seasons, his lowest overall gravity over the past 3 healthy seasons, his lowest paint shot creation over his last 3 healthy seasons. This is his second best contact finish season. This is his best drive assist per pass season.
And I was going to say, I do think Ja's clearly at his best as a playmaker right now.
Yeah.
It's just the scoring I'm worried about.
Worst finishing season in terms of finishing talent by a lot. By a lot. Worst pick and roll creations. Second worst pick and roll creation season. Second best playmaking season, and then best potential assists, most potential assists per 100 passes. So I think that lines up with what you've been saying so far.
Yeah, and so I also don't want to sound like a hater, so I need to get this off my chest too in regards to the Grizzlies. I did a little rough draft of my player rankings a week ago. Guess where I had Jaren Jackson Jr. on that list? Take a guess.
16.
I had him 14th.
Okay,
I had Jaren Jackson Jr. 14th, and I kind of feel like crazy about it, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to make an All-NBA team.
I want to toss out two players just to get an idea of what you're thinking.
Okay.
Anthony Edwards.
I have Ant over Jaren. I have Ant over Jaren pretty comfortably, but decently close.
So, like, Ant's like 10 then.
Edwards I had 11th.
Okay. So
but I had LeBron 13th. I think LeBron will probably leap Anthony Edwards playoff time.
Yeah.
The 11 discussion to me was between Ant and Brunson.
Okay.
And then I had Jaren 14th.
Where's Devin Booker?
Booker I had 16th. Although, with the way Booker's been playing recently, could get right back up to, because I think last year Booker was in the tier with Edwards and Brunson. So if Booker just gets back to like the way he's been playing recently, if he just continues that, he'll be right back up to like 13, 14. If I had to guess, because I do my top 25 rankings at the end of every season.
Great series.
If I had to guess, Jaren Jackson Jr. is probably going to wind up like 17, 18 on that list.
Which is what I guess, 16?
You got 16.
So, yeah.
And so I guess kind of a hot take. I have Jaren over Mobley right now.
Is it just purely like offensive creation?
It's the scoring. It's like it's like the.
I'm assuming Evan Mobley's not far off though.
Mobley, I have 17 right now.
Okay.
And I'm almost ready to say Mobley's the best player in the Cavs, which is our next topic of discussion, the Cavs. So Jaren Jackson, so I guess let's just move
Jackson
on.
getting back too. Okay, to close the Grizzlies, that's one thing I do want to like end on a positive note with. I don't know how much it matters in the playoffs, and maybe this actually even more so enhances your point about like they're the team that needs to go get like another half court player. They're so freaking deep, dude.
Dude, it's insane.
Like,
they have like 17 NBA players.
So they just played. They just played last night, I think, against Utah. Stop me when I name a player that's not an NBA rotation player. Jaren Jackson Jr., 28, played 30 minutes. Jalen Wells, who needs to be like a Rookie of the Year finalist, like at minimum. Zach Edey, John Morant, Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, G.T. Jackson, Jay Huff, John Conchar, Luke Kennard, Scottie Pippen Jr. That's every single player that played.
I'm not stopping you.
Jay Huff played 3 minutes.
Go to the DNPs. Go to
Jake LaRavia.
Jake LaRavia is a very good player. And
he didn't play due to low back soreness.
Dare I say this is the deepest team in NBA history in terms of just the amount of NBA players.
Like,
it's insane.
It's insane. I don't think Vince Williams has played yet.
No. Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart.
Dude, it's so funny looking at the Grizzlies roster, and it's like half of these guys that like they can't even fit into the rotation would have been like top 7 or 8 on the championship Nuggets. It's like, it's so crazy.
Marcus Smart would be the championship Nuggets 6th best player.
Yeah, not current Marcus Smart.
Not current
Celtics Marcus Smart. Because I don't know what's up with Marcus Smart whenever he plays now. But no, I'm with you. I'm with you. 100% you're cooking. And it's like the Grizzlies have so many assets that they can trade. Like, dude, they have enough assets to go get like Levine and then also like someone else that's also really good.
Purely from like a player value standpoint, whether or not contracts match up or not, but like purely player value, they have enough to go get like 2 players.
Or even multiple players from the Bulls. You could probably get like Levine, Lonzo, and Vooch. Like, contracts doesn't make sense. But like in terms of like who you could get with your deals.
With your player value.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I don't want them to blow it up, obviously, because but this is the time to pull the trigger. OKC's not getting any older.
Santi Aldama not played? I didn't say Santi, did I?
Oh my gosh, Aldama, bro. And shout out to Aldama because he's an elite role player. Like Aldama's a seriously good player, and Aldama's the type of guy that would get that much better by adding another half court scoring weapon because his ability to play off the catch and then just fill in spots is like a 7-foot 3-5. Dude, their team is stat. Okay, so who would you put on your untouchables list if you're the Grizzlies? And that doesn't mean if you have to include Aldama to get Kevin Durant, you do it. But in terms of the players I'm actively okay, you could trade for him. Who's on your untouchable list for the Grizzlies playoff rotation?
Obviously, the top three. I don't even need to name those.
Yeah.
I'd probably include Edie with that group.
Yeah, I would too.
And then I'm probably throwing Asante, Jalen Wells, and then Gigi Jackson. Those would be the guys I'm I'm probably not trading you.
Okay.
Unless I absolutely have to. I'm
with you, and Gigi's the only one I would throw on my list of tradable, and it's just because I think he's their best asset. He's 20 years old and a really good scorer. I know. So I think he's the one that gives you the most value.
Yeah.
And it's if you are going to make a trade for a Kevin Durant or even hell, dare I say Devin Booker. If the Suns just decide to blow it up. It's they probably won't this season, but it could be an offseason thing. If they don't make the playoffs, there's no way they go back in with Booker and KD. So maybe we're talking a year ahead.
Yeah.
But say in the offseason, the Suns just want to blow it up and want to recoup. Give them Gigi Jackson, some of those other young players, whatever picks you have. Get Devin Booker, who also fits the timeline perfectly with Ja Morant, Bane, and Jaren.
Yeah.
And it's dude, you go into next season with Zach Edey a year older, and now you have Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Devin Booker, Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Edey, and then your six-man Santi Aldama. Check ball.
My favorite storyline right now, one of my favorite storylines in the league right now is seeing teams consistently try to push Zach Edey, and then Zach Edey immediately respond on the most BS ever, dog.
Bro, the Drew Eubanks? Dude, collaborative, bro. Zach Edey's a tank. I love Zach Edey. That dude is a tank.
I want to make it clear that I was not an Edey hater. As soon as he got drafted to the Grizzlies, it's oh, okay, yeah, that's gonna work.
I'm an Edey guy. I love Edey. Yeah. I loved Edey from day one, man. Demon. I'm in the Demon Edey group chat. Don't forget, bro. Demon Edey FC. It's called, bro. Come on now. Respect Zach Edey.
I totally believe you too,
dude. I got no reason to make that up, dude. That's real stuff. It was ever since I made a Zach Edey video, they added me into the group. It's a bunch of Zach Edey fans. But yeah. Moving on. I like I said, high on the Grizzlies. A little bit worried about their playoff ceiling because of the half-court offense. But if there's a team that can't exploit the transition stuff, I really don't know how you slow them down because they're just going to run and gun. They play so fast. They're the 7 seconds or less Grizzlies, except Ja Morant is a freak. Dude, yeah, they got some serious transition talent. I'm just worried about the half-court go-to weapon. If a guy like Levine is available, go ahead. You want to say something?
No, go finish your point. I do have one.
I was just going to say, if a guy like Levine is available, Booker, KD, whoever it is, a legit 25 point per game half-court scorer, go get him, and you are immediately a tier 1 contender.
So I want to ask you this: what would be the two matchups in the West that you say, hell yes, I love how this I love this for Memphis in terms of a matchup standpoint? Who would be the two teams in the West you're yeah, this is probably Raps. This is 2023 all over again, if you will.
I'm gonna say the one that I actually think is their best matchup, which is ironic, is the Lakers, and it's specifically just the transition defense thing. That's all. It's just I think the Lakers can exploit Memphis in a lot of ways. I think the Lakers are the last team that has the facilities to stop Memphis's transition offense, and I think that's ultimately how they would beat a team is transition offense. I don't like them against Houston. I'm not gonna lie. I don't.
It's Houston's defense.
Houston's pretty. We got to talk about Houston in our next episode because they're kind of scary right now.
Yeah.
OKC, I don't like them. Denver, I don't like them. Minnesota, I'm kind of on the fence about Minnesota. I would say the two teams I'm most worried about in terms of Memphis would be probably Denver and OKC. Mm-hmm. I kind of like them against the Clippers a little bit. I don't know. I think I don't like them against Dallas. I don't think they can defend spread pick and roll with Luka. I don't see it happening. Dude, who do you even put on Luka? Who guards Luka in the starting lineup for Memphis?
Is that like a situation where you pray that Vince gets back?
You have to, right? Because who would it be? Aldama? Like,
yeah,
Dallas is the worst matchup for Memphis. I changed my mind. Dallas is the worst matchup for Memphis. That is terrible, man. That is a terrible. The best Luka defender on that team is Jaren Jackson Jr. Like that. No, that is a terrible. That is a terrible matchup. Best matchups. I kind of want to keep it to the playoff teams, but like they would obliterate Golden State. They would absolutely obliterate Golden State. That'd be terrible. They would obliterate
Phoenix.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say Phoenix. Yeah, they would comfortably beat Phoenix, I think. So I'm gonna say out of the top 8, I think Phoenix and LA are the teams that they would want to see the most, and then OKC and Dallas are the teams they'd want to see the least.
All right.
That's where I'm at. But yeah, moving on. I mentioned Evan Mobley. I wanted to talk about the Cavs, and I kind of want to keep this segment brief. I just kind of felt like it had to be mentioned that they have lost 3 games in a row after what did they start the season before these 3 games?
36-6.
36-6. Another they're only 36-9. They're only on pace to win 66 games now. But in all seriousness, they've lost 3 in a row. It's kind of alarming. 2 of those games they're missing Evan Mobley.
Lost them by combined 8 points the last 3 games.
Yeah, I think it's a good case study for the argument that Evan Mobley's their best player. I think, or at least most valuable player. We'll keep it at that for now. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not worried about the Cavs at all. I don't feel any differently than I did a week ago, and it's just specifically the fact that these losses have been on their defense, which I think is something that's way more fixable. I think the Cavs, their argument to be a top 1 contender or tier 1 contender is the fact that they have the most efficient offense in NBA history, or second, I think it's second most efficient behind last year's Celtics. Second most efficient offense in NBA history. Even in these losses, especially against a team like Houston that's a top defense, they still put up like 135 points. And
yeah.
Darius Garland had 39 points and 9 assists in their last game against Houston. Dude, they lost that first Houston game off of a back-to-back Darius Garland missed free throws. We live in the only universe where that happened. He's like a 92% free throw shooter. This is the only universe where Darius Garland missed 2 of those free throws. So yeah, I just wanted to get that off my chest. Cleveland's lost 3 in a row, but I don't feel any. Do you feel any differently about them? Like I said, they're still getting a bunch of points on the board. Their guys are playing fine. I'm a little bit worried about Donovan Mitchell not being able to finish at the rim anymore. But besides that, I'm fine with Cleveland still. I still have Cleveland, and I'll even say I still have Cleveland over Boston. I still feel good about Cleveland.
I want to look at the same metrics that we use for Ja. I want to compare Donovan Mitchell and.
You don't want to do that.
I do.
You don't want to do that.
I do. Hold on, wait.
You're saying you're going to compare Mitchell to former versions of himself?
No, Mitchell and Garland this season.
Dude. You do want to do that. Garland agenda. Let's go.
All right, come on, man.
Oh yeah, can I also say before you pull those numbers up, I made a 26-minute long Darius Garland video that was going to drop after the Rockets game. And he missed. No, he missed both those free throws, so I scratched it. I said he can wait. I'm actively sitting on a juggernaut of a Darius Garland video that basically just tells you why he's the greatest offensive player of all time. It's like one of the most. I'm so proud of it. It's like maybe my favorite video I've ever made, and I am just waiting. I couldn't have made it at a worse time. Like the Cavs, who are just this unbeatable juggernaut, all of a sudden lose 3 in a row the moment I make a Garland video. So I just want to say, if you are a Cavs fan and you are listening to this, there is a Garland video in your near future. Oh my gosh, that was rough. There is a Garland video in your near future as soon as the Cavs decide to win some games. So
yeah,
I want to get that out there.
There we go. Hold on one sec. We're gonna go 3 points.
Garland's crazy, man. I love Garland.
All right. Overall, better offensive season in terms of offensive LeBron, Darius Garland. The margin isn't that big. Overall gravity, they're basically tied. Like they both have very, very similar gravity overall. Better paint shot creator is Donovan Mitchell still. Not finisher necessarily, but just be able to create shots at the paint. I think we would agree with that still.
Yeah.
Contact finisher is actually Darius Garland. Not by a lot. You're kind of splitting hairs, but still Darius Garland. Drive assist per pass is Darius Garland by a decent margin. Finishing talent, overall finishing talent, Darius Garland. Pick and roll creation rate, Darius Garland. Playmaking talent, Darius Garland. Potential assist per 100 passes, Darius Garland. Donovan Mitchell, though, is not that far off. Donovan Mitchell is, I think we've talked about this. He's a pretty underrated passer. Yeah. 3-point shooting talent is Donovan Mitchell.
Which I disagree with. I think Garland's just a flat-out better shooter.
Yeah.
Regardless of what and I think the numbers are over-indexing on the fact that Mitchell takes so many pull-up threes.
He does.
So it gives him a lot of credit because his diet is so tough and there's so much volume. But in terms of just purely like the ability to put the ball in the basket from the 3-point line, I think Garland's probably like a top 3 shooter on the planet.
Like, to your point, it is starting to get a little bit alarming with Donovan Mitchell and his finishing at the rim this season. Like, if I'm going to try to pull up one more thing. This is like purely...
Like, dude, so when I was making my Cavs video, I don't even remember what video it was. I made a video recently, and I had a stat up there. Oh, it was, I was comparing Cade to Mitchell, because I made that comparison before, where it was like Mitchell took like a big finishing leap. Mitchell got up over the last 3 years to like 66, 68, 65% at the rim. And like 2 weeks ago, this year, he was at like 56%.
B-Ball Index has him at 58 now, like currently.
Yeah, and it's like, and I think he was playing on a leg injury last year. And it's like, that kind of scares me because that's the same thing that happened to James Harden. Remember James Harden played on a leg injury in the playoffs and then was literally never the same player again? Yeah. Which, shout out to Harden because he's been balling, man. Last night was a movie watching James Harden. But still he's not giving you 40 a game like he was.
Could be wrong. B-Ball Index has him at 66% at the rim last season.
Yeah.
Last season for Donovan Mitchell, A+ rim shot creation. So like he still like can create at the rim. I don't think that's what we're saying. But just
it's the conversion.
It's the conversion. He went from an A+ finishing talent grade to a B. So like you go from an A+ to a B. That's a pretty noticeable drop off.
Yeah. And he's also getting to the line a lot less because of that.
Yeah.
And granted, he's having his best shooting season ever, so a lot of that is negated. But in terms of, dude, I don't know, man. It kind of worries me. I think that's more of like a playoff issue.
Darius Garland, playoff run? Hey, we'll have some conversations this offseason if Darius Garland has an elite playoff run.
Darius Garland is so good. Darius Garland's so good.
So yeah, we got. Go ahead.
I'll say final question. Like, are you worried about the Cavs at all? Besides
no.
like the Mitchell finishing thing, like this 3-game slide doesn't mean anything to you?
No. Yeah. They're still the best team in the East right now. And the only team that I would personally see beating them is Boston. And even then, I don't know if I would take Boston. I think I'm at a point where I think in terms of my dream, like for the pod alone, like having our back and forth discussions, I think my dream conference finals matchups would be Boston, Cleveland, and then like summer duration of OKC, Denver, OKC, Dallas.
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
I think that's the most interesting.
Yeah.
Although I will say, the OKC one's a little interesting to me because I think that's less of a chess match and more of like a talent thing. Like I feel like the biggest
Denver series,
the biggest chess match in the West to me would probably be Dallas and Denver.
Yeah.
Dallas and Denver.
Luka pick and rolls, Jokic post ups.
Dallas and Denver, bro. Dude, all I'm saying, okay. Let's not get into that discussion again because we had that whole we were talking about like potential playoff matchups and just like actively getting hype, even though we're only halfway through. We're not even an All-Star break yet. And we're like, start the playoffs.
All right.
No, but
please don't start them. It's Lakers Denver round 1. No.
Yeah, wait a little bit. Yeah, last thing I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit before we get out of here. Raptors, sneaky fun tanking team. They've won 3 in a row. And they are the most ethical tanking team ever. I saw a tweet today. I don't remember who it was from. It might have been Jokic Joestar. He said, he was like, I don't think the Raptors try to tank games. I think they actually genuinely try their hardest. And then when they get blown out, it's just they weren't good enough. Like, when I watch them, I get the same vibe. Like, they have like all of these guys who are just kind of decent, but like it's not pulled together by anything. Like in the most recent game, Orlando Robinson had a defensive masterclass, and it's like, where did that come from? He's only played 2. That was his second game all year.
Yeah.
And he had a defensive masterclass. I mean, we talked about Kelly O a little bit already. He's an awesome bench piece. He had a huge game.
Trey had 11 turnovers in the most recent game.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, that stat line was rough. Kelly Olynyk, what game was it? I was watching a Raptors game very recently, and he came in off the bench and just like, it was the Orlando game. Dude, the Orlando game, they won by 16. Kelly Olynyk was plus 39 off the bench.
I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, I was watching that game and I was like, oh my gosh, he's doing everything good. Davion Mitchell, fun point of attack and then table setter. RJ Barrett, really nice off-ball weapon and transition guy on offense. I kind of like RJ, like the idea of RJ playing off of a legit number one creator. Scotty's looked really good in terms of like playmaking and getting to the mid-range. I like him as a mid-post guy. One thing I'm worried about with Scotty is the shot diet. I don't like the bunch of threes, transition threes specifically. I don't think that's the right pathway for his development. I just don't view him as that type of guy. I would like to see more forceful rim attacking and then mid-post stuff. Because when he's in those spots, he looks really good. I think Scotty's an awesome defender. Like, he was defending his ass off against Paolo in that Magic game. Like, really, really good defender. So, yeah, Scotty, I'm all in on Scotty. Love Scotty. Jakob Poeltl, really nice big. Every contender would love to have him as, like, a connector, screen and roll guy. Got the push shot, got the hook shot. Really good rebounder, drop defender. Can kind of do a lot of things. Ochai Agbaji, love him. Love Quickly. Love Bruce Brown. I feel like Bruce Brown's probably going to get traded to a contender in this deadline. But, like, yeah, man. I just wanted to give a shout out to the Raptors, man, because we don't really talk about them. There's not really much to talk about, to be fair. But, like, yeah, really fun tanking team and also, like, a sneaky good League Pass watch. Like, if you're ever bored and you see the Raptors playing, tune in because they're a fun watch. They do a lot of exciting things.
Yeah, so my take heading into the year on the Raptors was kind of like, look, I'm prepared to be wrong on them if I am, but I thought this was kind of going to be the team they were. They'd be a fun, bad team to watch that could maybe sniff a play-in, and I don't think that's going to happen now. Obviously, they were too injury riddled to start off the season. But to your point, man, they do have some really, really fun pieces. They have Grady Dick, too, that's, I think, taken some of a leap here in year 2. They have some really, really fun pieces. I don't know if Darko's the coach long-term, but in terms of, like, core, like Scotty, RJ, if you want IQ, Grady, Jacoby Walter from Baylor going into year 2 next season. I think it's pretty clear. I don't think Jakob Poeltl is going to be a part of that core long term. They have some pieces. I like Davion Mitchell, like you said at the point of attack, decent table setter. I'm curious if they keep him around too. Actually, I think in a perfect world, he's just like their long term backup.
I was gonna say I feel like they're prepping Jamal Shed to be like the Davion Mitchell replacement.
Right.
That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah. They have some pieces. I think I also kind of said into the year, and this isn't anybody's fault. Again, injuries happen. I said that this kind of needed to be the season where you find out if Scotty Barnes is ignore the name. Is he your Kawhi or is he your Lauri Markkanen in the sense of he's our 1A, arguably like top 15 player on the planet, or he's our really, 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 really good star that just needs somebody else that he kind of like revolves around, if that makes sense. I think injuries has kind of like held that back from you getting a fair evaluation on a really, really bad team this season. But they're in a good spot, and I forget what their pick situation is, but you're in a loaded draft class too. This is, like you said, a very ethical tank by the Toronto Raptors.
My take on Scotty to finish off was it's like I think he can be a 1A. I think he has that type of ceiling where it's like the playmaking comes together, the defense comes together. I think he can be like the best player, but I don't think he'll ever be a 1A half-court scorer. So it goes back to what we talked about with the Grizzlies or like the Evan Mobley argument. I think you could argue Evan Mobley's the best player on the Cavs. I can see Scotty Barnes in that type of environment where it's like maybe even the clear best player, but it's like you aren't the go-to half-court scorer. It's kind of like, this is going to be an extreme argument, but it's kind of how I feel about the '08 Celtics. I think KG was very clearly the best player on that team, but both Pierce and Allen were go-to half-court scorers over him. That's kind of how I feel about the Scotty thing because of his playmaking and defensive potential. Like, or even a Draymond Green. Like, there's definitely a scenario where Draymond Green's on a team and is the clear best player.
Not current Draymond.
Not current Draymond, like prime Draymond.
2017
Actually,
Draymond Green.
You know what the best example is? When Steph Curry missed like 2 or 3 games of the Blazers series in 2016, Draymond was very clearly the best player on a team that won 2 playoff games.
Yeah.
And Klay was averaging like 29 a game just playing off of Draymond 2-man game.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a Scotty Barnes situation to me. It's like, I'm going to give you like, because I honestly feel like Scotty right now, what is he averaging, 22 points a game? I wouldn't be surprised if his ceiling as a scorer is like 23 or 24, but just significantly more efficient than it is right now. Let me actually check the numbers real quick, pull those up. Right now, he's averaging 20. Oh, he's only up to 20. He's at 20 right now. I thought he was closer to 22. RJ Barrett's at like 22, I think.
Yeah.
20 points per game right now on 54% true shooting. I think ideal Scotty's like 23, 60%. And then it's like you also get 9 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal and a half.
In all
2
NBA
blocks.
defense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the, and then it's like, can you get that other half court scoring weapon? Like, do they get Dylan Harper? Is that the guy? I don't know. But it's like, yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at with Scotty. I think 1A potential, not 1A half court scorer potential.
Yeah. I'm with you. That's fair.
Well, that's gonna do it.
Man. We didn't talk about any toes or whatever, or mid-range jumpers. That was wild. Like,
that was fire. That was fire.
When you tagged me, like, I guess Sean and I have to stop my game. I'm like, oh, okay, what's this? Oh, plays the clip. All right, man.
I mean, was he not cooking though? Mid-range shots for like toes. That's insane. Yeah, that's insane. Who was that said that? I don't even remember.
I don't remember.
Was
either.
it McMahon? I feel like it was McMahon.
Yeah,
I think it was McMahon. But yeah. Last thing I kind of want to. Crazy coincidence, by the way. This was totally incidental, or accidental. I mean, I'm just all over the place at this point. But today's the 5-year anniversary of Kobe Bryant's passing. Rest in peace, man. Legend. Also, our 24th episode. So I think that's just kind of like a crazy coincidence, right? Like, I know we're both huge Kobe fans, so it's just like a kind of a crazy coincidence that this lined up in the way it did. But yeah, man, rest in peace, Kobe. 5-year anniversary, legendary career. Also, we talked about the Lakers for the bulk of the show, so just kind of a crazy, like totally accidental, crazy stuff going on. But yeah, man, appreciate everybody listening to this episode. Make sure you check us out on social media. My stuff is all under @TylerBritton_ or Hoop Venue. Find me on all platforms. Sean_Davis23. Is that your
on
Instagram handle?
Yeah.
Sean_Davis23 Instagram. Twitter, Sean_DAVI. His YouTube channels are the Los Angeles Lakers Network and the Sports Headline Show. If you're watching on YouTube, all of those beautiful links will be in the description. Easily click, go follow, subscribe, whatever the case may be on all of our platforms. Make sure you follow this show. Leave a 5-star rating if you're on Spotify, man. I've noticed we got some good ratings. Keep those up, man. Really appreciate it. Or Apple. Really appreciate those ratings. Make sure to subscribe and like if you're on YouTube. And we will catch you guys next time for episode number 25.